It happens before a single thought has time to form. A crisis emerges. A financial error, a sudden health scare, a crushing workload, or just the sharp, stinging realization that you are overwhelmed. Watch what your body does in that precise millisecond. It does not lean forward. It does not scan the environment for a face. It does not inhale to prepare for speech. Instead, there is a distinct, rapid retraction. It is a physical recoil, like touching a hot stove, but internalized. Your shoulders drop and lock. Your breathing becomes shallow and silent. The muscles around the jaw tighten. The world around you might be full of people, friends, partners, colleagues. But in this moment, they effectively cease to exist as resources. They become scenery. A cold, familiar chemical washes over your nervous system. It is not panic. Panic looks for an exit or a savior. This is something else. This is a hyper-focused, freezing mechanism. You are running a rapid inventory of your own internal assets. How much energy do I have left? What tools are within reach? How do I solve this without making a sound? You convince yourself this is efficiency. You tell yourself you are simply handling business, that you are low maintenance, that you are strong. But if you pay close attention to the sensation in your gut, it doesn't feel like strength. It feels like a barricade. You are sealing the perimeter. The neural pathway that allows for the vocalization of need has been pruned away. You don't ask, because the option to ask doesn't feel risky. It feels impossible. It appears on your mental dashboard as a corrupted file. And as you begin to move, silently solving the problem alone, you are left with a lingering, vibrating question. When did independence become a form of solitary confinement? From the outside, this mechanism is indistinguishable from extreme competence. In a social or professional hierarchy, the person who never asks for help is often elevated to the status of a pillar. You are labelled reliable. You are low maintenance. You are the rock. To an observer, your behaviour looks like an abundance of capability. They assume you do not ask for assistance because you simply have no use for it. They mistake a lack of signalling for a lack of need. This misinterpretation is reinforced by the way you reject offers when they do appear. If someone detects a flicker of stress and asks, "Can I help you with that?" your response is not a conscious decision. It is a reflex. A pleasant, impenetrable smile plasters itself onto your face. Your voice drops into a calm, reassuring register. "I'm fine," you say. "I've got it handled." You perform this deflection so smoothly that the other person believes you. They walk away, perhaps even feeling a sense of relief that they aren't required to expend their own energy. They assume you prefer to work alone. They assume you thrive on autonomy. They admire your independence, unaware that what they are looking at is not a preference, but a compulsion. They validate the very behaviour that is slowly crushing you. The tragic irony of this dynamic is that you effectively train the people around you to neglect you. Over time, because you never send out a distress signal, your environment stops scanning for one. Friends stop checking in as deeply. Partners stop offering to shoulder the load. Colleagues dump more work on your desk because you can handle it. You have curated a reality where you are functionally invisible, hidden in plain sight behind a facade of strength. But beneath the accolades and the respect for your resilience, a dangerous ledger is being updated. You begin to feel a distinct, heavy resentment toward the very people who believe your lie. You are angry at them for not seeing through the mask you have spent years perfecting. You are suffering from a specific kind of loneliness, the loneliness of the highly functional. And this external validation does not fill the void, it merely cements the lock on the door. The cost of this strategy is not paid in a single dramatic lump sum. It extracts its payment in a slow, continuous drip of vitality. When you refuse to outsource need, you are forced to insource the entire logistical and emotional weight of your existence. Every problem you solve alone requires a specific unit of metabolic energy. A shared burden is lighter, not just philosophically, but neurologically. When you distribute a task, you distribute the cognitive load. When you hold it alone, your brain remains locked in a state of high beta wave activity, constantly calculating, predicting, and mitigating. You lose the ability to truly enter rest and digest states. Even when you are technically resting, sitting on a sofa, staring at a screen, lying in bed, your internal engine is idling at high RPMs. You are waiting for the next crisis that only you can solve. This is hypervigilance disguised as responsibility. Your nervous system perceives the world as a place where support is non-existent, which means you must maintain total situational awareness at all times. You become the sole architect, the sole builder, and the sole security guard of your life. Over months and years, this accumulation manifests as a deep, marrow-level depletion. It is not the kind of tiredness that sleep fixes. It is a structural fatigue. You begin to feel a distinct brittleness. Your patience thins. Small inconveniences, a dropped set of keys, a slow internet connection, trigger disproportionate internal rage, which you then have to suppress, costing yet more energy. You find yourself feeling touched out or overstimulated by the mere presence of others, because their presence represents potential demand, not potential support. You start rationing your own energy like a scarce commodity during a famine. You decline social invitations, not because you don't want connection, but because you cannot afford the caloric expense of performing okayness. You become an object to yourself, a machine to be maintained and optimized rather than a human to be nurtured. You are surviving, but you are slowly eroding. And yet, despite the crushing weight of this fatigue, you continue to choose it. You wake up and do it again. This suggests something unsettling. To your subconscious mind, this exhaustion is not the worst-case scenario. The depletion is preferable to the alternative. The system is accepting this high cost not by accident, but as a calculated insurance premium against a much older, more terrifying threat. To understand why you cannot ask for help, we must look past the concept of personality and examine the architecture of prediction. Your brain is not designed to tell you the truth. It is designed to keep you alive by predicting the immediate future. It builds these predictions based on a historical dataset. For the hyper-independent individual, the historical dataset contains a critical error code regarding dependency. Somewhere in your timeline, a specific neural link was forged between expressing need and threat. This threat was likely not physical danger, but something more subtle and pervasive. It could have been the pain of being ignored, the shame of being made to feel like a burden, or the anxiety of watching a chaotic caregiver fall apart, forcing you to become the adult in the room to stabilize the environment. Your brain recorded a simple, brutal sequence. I have a need arrow. I signal the need arrow. I am hurt. To prevent this outcome, the brain installs a bypass. This is not a conscious choice. It is a neurological rerouting. When a stressor hits today, your brain instantly calculates the energy cost of asking versus the energy cost of solving alone. For a securely attached nervous system, asking is cheap. It yields support with low risk. For your nervous system, asking is expensive. It triggers a biological threat response. The amygdala activates. The body prepares for the possibility of rejection or incompetence. The perceived cost of managing the other person's reaction, their potential annoyance, their judgment, or the debt you might owe them, is calculated as mathematically higher than the cost of doing the work yourself. Furthermore, there is a powerful chemical reinforcement loop at play. When you solve a crisis alone, your brain releases a specific cocktail of dopamine and adrenaline related to agency. You feel a spike of absolute control. You survived without exposure. The behavior is reinforced. I did it myself becomes a primary source of safety. You are not addicted to the struggle. You are addicted to the absence of disappointment. You have effectively engineered a world with zero variables. Other people are chaotic variables. You are a constant. By removing the variables, you reduce the prediction error. It is a perfect, closed system of survival. But this mechanistic explanation leaves a critical, haunting gap. If this system is a perfect biological adaptation designed to maximize safety and minimize threat, why does the result feel indistinguishable from slow suffocation? If you have successfully optimized for survival, why does the victory feel so much like a loss? You likely define yourself as independent. You view your autonomy as a moral virtue, a badge of honor earned in the trenches of self-reliance. But precise psychological observation suggests this is a misdiagnosis. This is not independence, it is counterdependence. True independence is the ability to stand alone when necessary. Counterdependence is the inability to lean on others even when it is logical to do so. It is a rigidity, not a freedom. When you cannot ask for help, you are not making a choice based on preference. You are obeying a prohibition based on fear. You are not strong in the way a muscle is strong, flexible and capable of bearing load. You are strong in the way a calcified bone is strong, hard, unyielding, and prone to shattering under the wrong kind of pressure. You are not avoiding help because you are superior to the need for it. You are avoiding help because you are terrified of the transaction cost. You have internalized a belief that every interaction involving need is a negotiation you are destined to lose. You are operating under the assumption that care is a finite resource, and if you take some, you will either be indebted forever or you will find the well dry when you truly need it. So, you essentially pre-reject everyone around you. You fire them from the job of supporting you before they even have a chance to apply. This gives you the illusion of control. You cannot be let down if you never reach out. But do not confuse this defensive crouch with posture. You are not standing tall, you are bracing for impact. You have confused safety with solitude, and in doing so, you have built a life that is completely secure and completely airless. Consider how this counter-dependent architecture silently colonizes every corner of your existence. It is not limited to a single domain, it is an operating system running in the background of every interaction, corrupting the feedback loops in your career, your relationships, and your physical health. In your professional life, this mechanism manifests as the competence trap. Because you never signal that you are at capacity, the system assumes you have infinite capacity. You become the path of least resistance for every crisis, every unfinished project, and every emotional emergency in the office. You do not manage up, you absorb down. You silently clean up the messes of less competent colleagues, not out of altruism, but because correcting them requires a confrontation you are unwilling to navigate, or a request for resources you are unwilling to make. You tell yourself this makes you indispensable, but look closely at the dynamic you have created. You are not indispensable, you are exploitable. You have signaled to the marketplace that your labor comes without the friction of negotiation. The reward for your efficiency is not relief, it is more volume. And because you hide the effort it takes to produce these results, your struggle is invisible. You are drowning in plain sight, and your manager is congratulating you on your swimming technique. You feel a simmering, toxic resentment toward the organization, yet you never gave them the data they needed to treat you differently. Shift the lens to your intimate relationships. Here the pattern is even more corrosive. You likely pride yourself on being low maintenance. You believe that by suppressing your needs, you are being a good partner. You are easy to love because you require nothing. But this is a fundamental misunderstanding of how human bonding works. Intimacy is not built on peace. It is built on the exchange of vulnerability. When you refuse to be helped, you deny your partner the opportunity to be useful. You rob them of the agency to care for you. Over time, they stop offering. They retreat. They may even begin to feel inadequate, sensing that there is a wall around you that they cannot breach. You are sleeping in the same bed, but you are miles apart. You are lonely not because you are alone, but because you are withholding the only thing that creates connection, your own incompleteness. You have made yourself an observer in your own relationship, watching from behind a glass wall of self-sufficiency. This pattern eventually migrates into your physical body. The body is the ultimate truth teller, and it does not tolerate being ignored. but you have trained yourself to override internal signals. When you feel pain, you dissociate. When you are exhausted, you caffeinate. You treat your body like a rental car that you are driving into the ground rather than the vessel you live in. You delay doctor's appointments because it's probably nothing, or I don't have time. You ignore the early warning signs of burnout, the twitching eye, the insomnia, the digestive issues, viewing them as annoying defects rather than urgent messages. You are waiting for catastrophic failure. You will only stop when your body physically forces you to stop. When the fever hits 104, when the back goes out, when the panic attack simulates a heart attack. You require a biological mandate to rest because you cannot grant yourself a psychological permission slip. Even in moments of profound grief or loss, the mechanism holds. When tragedy strikes, you immediately shift into logistics mode. You plan the funeral, you handle the paperwork, you support the others who are crying. You postpone your own collapse until you are alone, in the car or the shower, where the sound cannot escape. You grieve in a vacuum. You believe you are sparing others your burden, but you are actually cementing a terrifying reality, that in your darkest moments, you are unreachable. Look at the mosaic of these behaviors: work, love, health, grief. They are not separate struggles. They are the same struggle wearing different costumes. You have constructed a life where the only person allowed to save you is you. You have eliminated the risk of dependency, yes, but in doing so, you have eliminated the possibility of relief. The pressure is uniform, it is constant, and it is exclusively yours. The final price of this survival strategy is not just exhaustion, it is a fundamental alteration of your emotional landscape. The human capacity to receive care is not a static trait, it is a biological pathway. Like a muscle or a neural circuit, it operates on a strict use it or lose it principle. By systematically rejecting support for decades, you have allowed the receiving mechanism to atrophy. This means that even if you wanted to change today, even if you decided intellectually to let someone in, you might find that you physically cannot absorb the care they offer. When kindness is directed at you, it does not land as relief. It lands as friction. It feels abrasive, intrusive, or suspicious. It creates a cognitive dissonance because it violates the fundamental law of your reality. I must do this alone. You have adapted so completely to the famine of self-reliance that the feast of support looks like a threat. Furthermore, you cannot selectively numb your internal world. You cannot choose to mute the frequency of need while keeping the volume up on connection or intimacy. The dampening mechanism is indiscriminate. To suppress the vulnerability required to ask for help, you must flatten your entire emotional range. You become stable, yes, but you also become rigid. The highs are not as high, the lows are strictly managed. You live in a grey zone of high-functioning neutrality, observing life rather than feeling it. You have purchased your safety with your aliveness. You have traded the messy, unpredictable, risky dynamic of true human reliance for a sterile, controlled existence. You have protected yourself from the pain of being let down, but in the process, you have insured yourself against the possibility of being truly held. The ledger balances perfectly. You owe no one owes you. You are entirely debt-free in the economy of relationships. But as you survey the impeccable architecture of your independence, a terrifying realization begins to dawn. You have succeeded in making yourself an island, sovereign and untouchable. The fortifications hold, the walls are high. You are perfectly safe from the disappointment of others. But inside the fortress, the silence is total, and there is no one coming to unlock the door from the outside. This is where the mind instinctively reaches for a solution. You want the 3 steps to dismantle the wall, the script to recite when you finally ask for help. But your nervous system is not interested in your intellectual desire for change. It is interested in your survival, and right now, it still calculates that this isolation is the only thing ensuring your safety. You cannot simply drop a defense mechanism that has saved you 1,000 times. That would be reckless. The wall you built is not just a barrier, it is load-bearing. To remove it abruptly might cause a collapse you are not equipped to handle. So there is no strategy to offer you. There is only a request for a new kind of attention. Next time the weight settles on your shoulders, do not rush to fix it. Just feel the specific texture of the burden. Acknowledge the sheer metabolic cost of maintaining a perimeter that no one is currently attacking. Acknowledge that while you are technically safe, you are also technically alone in a crowded room. The tragedy is not that you are broken. The tragedy is that you are functioning perfectly. You are a master of adaptation, executing a flawed program designed for a danger that passed years ago. You are left standing in the center of your own life, holding a shield that has become too heavy to lift, yet too terrifying to drop. And you must ask yourself the only question that matters. If the war is truly over, why are you still digging trenches?